I worked the night shift at a gas station, and I quit after what I saw. I never believed in paranormal stuff. Not really. I'm the kind of person who needs proof, hard evidence, something I can point to and say, yeah, this happened. That's why what I'm about to tell you still bothers me so much. For almost a year, I worked the night shift at a gas station just outside a small town. It sat along a 2-lane highway that cut through miles of nothing but trees and fields. Long stretches of road where headlights were the only sign that anyone else existed. The job itself, it was painfully normal. Clock in, 10 p.m. Clean the counters. Restock the coolers. Ring up the occasional customer who wandered in half asleep or half drunk. Clock out, 6 a.m. Most nights I barely spoke to another human being. The quiet didn't bother me at first. I actually liked it. The store had a constant low hum of the refrigerators, the buzz of fluorescent lights, the faint whine of electricity in the walls. Normal gas station noises. And after a while, it all blended together into white noise. Behind the counter was a small monitor showing 4 security cameras. There was one on the pumps, there was one at the front door, one down the main aisle, and one behind the building. I checked them out of boredom more than anything, and nothing ever happened. Until it did. The first strange thing was so small that I didn't even register it as strange at the time. It was around 3 a.m., the dead hour where your brain feels like it's floating. Yeah, I was leaning on the counter, scrolling through my phone, when I heard the front door chime. Ding dong. It was loud in an empty store. "Be right with you," I said automatically without looking. There was no answer. I waited a second, and then I glanced towards the entrance. But the door was closed. There was no movement, no shadows, and no one standing outside the glass. I figured maybe the wind had just rattled the door, or the sensor glitched. It wasn't exactly high-end system. I shrugged and I went back to my phone. 5 minutes later, the chime rang again. This time I looked up immediately. Still, it was nothing. I walked around the counter and checked the door. It was locked. I remember feeling slightly annoyed more than scared, like something was interrupting my routine. And that's when I checked the cameras. The front door feed was normal, and the pumps were empty. But the aisle camera, there was something there. At first, my brain refused to process it. I thought it was a trick of the lighting, maybe a shadow cast by the cooler doors. But it was standing upright. It was tall and too dark. It looked like a human silhouette cut out of the footage. There were no features, there was no depth, just an absence of light. It stood halfway down the aisle, facing the counter. I slowly lifted my head and looked down the aisle with my own eyes. Nothing. The shelves were exactly how they should be. Brightly colored snacks, reflections in the cooler glass. I looked back at the monitor. The shadow, it was still there. Suddenly I felt a cold sensation crawl up my arms. I waved my hand in front of the camera, watching myself on the screen. My image passed right through the shadow, and it didn't react, it didn't move. I told myself I was just tired, that my eyes were playing tricks on me. And then, it took a step. Just one ominous step, closer to the counter. I heard a sound behind me, a soft scuff, like a shoe brushing against tile. I spun around. Nothing. And when I looked back at the cameras, the shadow was closer still. The heavy, sinking sensation in your chest, like your body knows something your brain is still denying. Yeah, that's the feeling that overcome me. I stayed behind the counter for the next hour, barely moving. Every few minutes I'd glance at the monitors. My eyes would peer, and I would look back. I would look again, and I would look back. And the shadow had never left. it began to wander. Sometimes it stood by the door, sometimes near the drinks, and once it was right behind the counter, always visible on the camera, but never visible in my eyes. Around 4 a.m., I started hearing things, footsteps that didn't match my own, a low tapping sound from the ceiling. The cooler doors opened slightly and then closed, without making the usual sound. Each noise made my stomach twist tighter. I tried calling my manager, no answer. I thought about leaving, but what would I do? The shadow always positioned itself between me and the exit. And then at 4:37 a.m., the front door chime rang again. This time, the door opened, and I watched it happen. Cold night air poured inside, carrying the smell of damp asphalt and distant trees. I stared at the doorway. No one entered. On the monitor, the shadow stood in the doorway, filling it completely. It didn't move, but it didn't need to. I felt like the store was shrinking around me, the lights dimming, and the air had thickened. The shadow on the screen tilted its head to the right. I don't even know how else to describe it. I just knew. And that was it. I ran. I vaulted the counter, sprinted through the back room, and slammed through the emergency exit. I didn't look back. I didn't slow down. I didn't stop until I was inside my car with the doors locked. I drove away shaking, and the next morning I quit, with no explanation, no notice, just relief. But sometimes, late at night when I'm alone, and my phone screen goes dark, I swear I see a shape reflected behind me, and I try not to check.